Was Luther Burden really the biggest steal of the 2025 NFL draft? If you're a Chicago Bears fan, it's hard not to feel like your team may have just pulled off something special. The pick turned a lot of heads, and when you start to look at how perfectly Burden fits into what head coach Ben Johnson is trying to build, the excitement becomes even more justified. He's not just another wide receiver prospect. Burden is a dynamic playmaker who thrives in space. Someone who brings exactly the kind of off-the-catch explosiveness that can completely shift an offense's identity. And that's exactly the type of player Johnson has been looking for. From the moment his name was called, people began buzzing about how well he complements the current roster. He's been called one of the most promising receivers of this class by more than a few respected analysts, guys who live and breathe the draft process and know what to look for in future stars. One analyst in particular couldn't stop highlighting Burden's ability to rack up yards after the catch, something that's become a premium trait in today's NFL and a major point of emphasis in Johnson's offensive philosophy. The system is built to create space and mismatches, and Burden is built to take full advantage of that space. Right now, the expectation is that Burden will start in the slot, at least initially, lining up alongside some serious talent already in that receiving room. And guess what? He's already done that before and looked good doing it. That's not a projection, it's a preview. He has experience in that role, and his ability to turn a quick out or a shallow cross into a big gain makes him a nightmare for defensive coordinators. I mean, when you talk about scheme fit, this is exactly what people mean. He's not just a body in the slot, he's a weapon. What's really wild is how far he fell. A lot of people, myself included, thought he'd go in the top 20, maybe top 15. Somewhere around pick 16 seemed like the floor, but pick 39, that wasn't even on the radar. Even when the second day started, you'd think teams still in need of a receiver would have jumped at the chance. But nope, there he was, still waiting when the Bears were on the clock. It felt like the stars aligned, so now Chicago walks away with arguably the best yards after catch receiver in the entire draft. And that's not just a flashy stat. That directly aligns with what the coach is trying to do offensively. It's not just about raw production. It's about utility, fit, and maximizing touches. And Burden checks all the boxes. Sure, people are calling it a luxury pick, but when you can draft the best player available at a position you actually value in your scheme, that's not a luxury. That's strategy. And take a look at what's already on this roster. The Bears have a few guys who can shake off defenders after the catch. That's not in question. But what Burden brings is something else entirely. He raises the ceiling of this group. His presence might even explain why the team felt comfortable letting a veteran receiver walk. Someone who was precise in his routes, reliable, and had leadership qualities, but who simply didn't offer the kind of post-catch production this team clearly wants now. He was great in his prime, no doubt about it, but at 32 or 33 years old, it's tough to take contact the same way. You make the catch, maybe gain 5 or 6 yards, and that's it. There's no explosion, no second gear. In us contrast, Burden doesn't just have a second gear, he's got third, fourth, and fifth gears. He's in a group with a few other players on his team who are just monsters when the ball's in their hands. We're talking about guys who make short passes dangerous, slants, bubbles, outs. It doesn't matter. They catch, they cut, and they're gone. And that's not just some trendy league-wide fad. It's a tactical advantage, especially when you have a quarterback who's good at reading matchups and putting the ball in the hands of the right guy at the right time. If you got a player like Burden lined up with space in front of him, and a safety bite in the wrong direction, forget it. That play's going for 30 or more. That also creates a lot of headaches for defenses, because it's not just Burden. There's another receiver who can work out of the backfield, one who can unhook from tight coverage and create chaos underneath. If the Bears stack these guys on the field at the same time, who do you key on? Who do you leave single covered? It forces the defense to make impossible choices, and that's the beauty of this system. Some might say it was a flashy pick. Others might call it overkill. But anyone really paying attention knows this wasn't just about adding another name. This was about getting the most complete offensive weapon still on the board. That's why it's such a smart move. Now, here's a question. Which of these receivers is going to have the biggest long-term impact? Some fans might vote for one player, others might say Burden. You might even argue that one is more complete. but based on the style of football Johnson wants to play, it wouldn't be surprising if Burden ends up being the one who defines this offense moving forward. And the best part, both players have the potential to thrive. That's the dream scenario. Props have to go to whoever pushed for this pick. It was a bold call that might turn out to be one of the biggest steals of this class. And when you look at the numbers, it's even more impressive. There's a very short list of SEC receivers who topped 1,200 yards in either their freshman or sophomore seasons, and Burden is on it. That's a rare club, one filled with names that have already made noise at the pro level. It's hard to overstate how difficult that is to pull off, especially in a conference like the SEC where the competition is as close to the NFL as college football gets. Now, let's talk about what happened in 2024. Because yeah, his numbers dipped. That much is all obvious. His receptions dropped from 86 the year before to 61. His yardage dropped from over 1,200 to just 676. The touchdowns were still decent, but there's no question the production took a hit. And sure, that raised some questions. But for me, the main reason for that decline isn't Burden himself. It's the quarterback play at Missouri. The guy under center had a solid year in 2023, but really struggled the following season. And if you watch the games, the stats don't even tell the whole story. He was supposed to be a potential day 2 pick, a senior quarterback with good size mobility and a cannon arm. But the performances just weren't there, even with a solid offensive line and one of the most talented receivers in the nation. The offense couldn't get rolling. The run game also stalled out, which only made things worse. So is it really that simple? Did the quarterback tank Burden stats? In part, yeah. But that's how it works in college football. In the NFL, even an average quarterback can manage the game and keep things steady. In college, though, if your quarterback can't deliver, it throws everything off. The talent gap between players is massive, and the system isn't built to protect skill guys when the man under center is struggling. That volatility impacts everyone, and Burden was no exception. There were also whispers, unconfirmed but definitely circulating, about Burden's attitude during that rough season. Some speculated that he mentally checked out once it became clear Missouri wasn't going to contend. Did he stop trying? Probably not completely, but did he lose focus? Maybe. It's not excusable, but it's also not uncommon. When a team falls apart and your NFL dream is just months away, it's understandable that a young athlete might start thinking ahead. Still, that shift in mentality might have played a role in his drop in production and in his slide on draft day. Route running was another area that raised a few eyebrows. There were moments, especially in the second half of that game against Alabama, where people pointed out that his effort seemed to fade. Again, you can't ignore the context. Struggling team, inefficient quarterback, poor offensive rhythm. But it matters. Scouts notice these things. That's why the pre-draft process is so thorough. Teams want to know what kind of competitor you are, even when the situation is less than ideal. Despite all that, Burden's talent is undeniable. Putting up those numbers in the SEC as a freshman, that's not normal. That's special. And when he's fully locked in, his route running is actually solid, more than enough to get separation. There's still room to grow, but the foundation is there. He may not be at the elite tier just yet, but he's got the tools to get there. What really makes Burden stand out, though, is his physical profile. He's about 206 pounds, but moves like someone who's much lighter. He can throttle down, change direction, and accelerate again in the blink of an eye. That kind of movement is usually reserved for players in the 175. Range. The fact that he does it at his size, that's elite stuff. He doesn't need to be in a perfect scheme to be effective, but give him a system like Johnson's and he could absolutely thrive. We're talking about a guy who can take a 6-yard curl and turn it into a 35-yard chunk play. That's the kind of talent that doesn't just fit into a team, it elevates it. If there's any concern moving forward, it's not about skill, it's about maturity. Can he stay focused? Can he embrace the work, respond to coaching, and grow into a professional mindset? Because if he does, the sky isn't even a limit. This guy has all-pro potential written all over him. But if he loses focus or coasts on raw talent, then yeah, maybe he just becomes a role player. That's the fork in the road right now. It's all going to come down to how badly he wants it. For those of you who love a good deep dive into draft prospects, this has been your look at Luther Burden. And if he lives up to the potential we saw in flashes, the Bears might have landed the biggest hidden gem of this entire draft class. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Chicago has a new reason to believe. On a day marked by fireworks and fanfare, superstar wide receiver Tyreek Hill touched down in the Windy City to a hero's welcome, officially joining the Chicago Bears in one of the most electrifying moves of the offseason. Greeted at Halas Hall by throngs of excited fans and teammates, Hill's arrival was nothing short of a celebration, symbolizing a turning point for a franchise hungry for success. Known for his blistering speed, explosive playmaking, ability, and game-changing presence, Hill brings to Chicago a championship pedigree and unmatched talent. His acquisition is seen not just as a roster upgrade, but as a cultural shift for the Bears. After years of offensive struggles and unmet expectations, Hill's presence injects hope and swagger into a team aiming to compete at the highest level. Speaking to reporters after his arrival, Hill expressed excitement about the new chapter. Yeah, this city has passion, this team has heart, and I'm here to bring the fire, he said with a trademark smile. We're going to turn heads. Fans gathered in droves outside the team facility, waving signs and chanting his name, showcasing the level of enthusiasm that only a player of Hill's caliber can ignite. The Bears' social media platforms lit up with welcome messages and behind-the-scenes content, turning his arrival into a viral moment with a dynamic quarterback in place. And an emerging young core, the addition of Hill instantly elevates the Bears' offense to must-watch status. Analysts are already recalibrating expectations, projecting Chicago as a serious playoff contender. For a team long associated with gritty defense and conservative play, the arrival of one of the NFL's most electric offensive weapons signals a bold new era. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.